And there we are.
Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about tonight's topic because this one is going to be different. It's not about abs, it's not about nutrition or fat loss, which are the things that I'm normally talking to you about. This one is about something bigger, and it's something important in so many of our lives. Tonight, we're going to be talking about money mindset. And I brought an expert on, Allyson Byrd, who I'll be introducing more shortly. But I'm so excited about this conversation, you all, because money tends to be one of the biggest stressors for people. It tends to be the thing that holds people back. It tends to be something that we have beliefs around from our childhood even. And it's something that I've been really digging into in my own life, me and my husband. And I've got one of my very good friends and coaches on with me tonight who's really helped me step out of this. And I can't wait to be talking with her tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Natalie Jill, and I kill fat for a living. Now, for years and years, that was the fat on our bodies, but I do more than that. I help you kill what I call false assumed truths. And those are those beliefs that have been holding us back in so many areas of our life when it comes to aging, our health, and things like money mindset. So I help kill those false assumed truths. For those of you that don't know me, I'm also the creator and host of the top ranking podcast, Leveling Up, Creating Everything from Nothing. And you may have seen me on TV or some covers, like my most recent cover right here on Strong Magazine. And tonight, I have got one of my very good friends, Allyson Byrd. Allyson, I can't wait to chat with you. I chat with you all the time, but not specifically on this topic with an audience. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. First, I want to just chat with you about all things, your daughter, your son, like our lives. Then I want to chat money. I want to chat to the entire audience that's on. Like, it's so much energy already. And so
you just called Flops my son.
Oh, I need to call Flops your son?
Yeah, you just called him my son. You said, I got to chat with you with all things your daughter, your son. So
I did. Yeah.
Flops is my son. I can't. Hey, before we jump into the interview, though, I'd love to know who's joining us. If you're on watching us live, or if you're watching the replay, tell us replay. But if you're on watching us live, let us know where you're joining in from, your name, and also your age. I love to know the ages because since I do help so many women age in reverse, and I'm 48 years old, I love to know who I'm chatting with. If I'm talking to ladies in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, or if you're younger or older than that, let me know so I can see who we're chatting with tonight.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, we've got Portugal on. That's absolutely amazing.
Wow. Awesome. Hi, Lisa. I see you. And hi, Wetman. Awesome. Okay. Allyson, I have so many questions for you. And you guys, I want to start with, I talk about false assumed truths a lot, those things that hold us back in lives. I had one really creeping up in my life around the time I met Allyson. And I met Allyson as a friend and as somebody who was helping with something outside of a money mindset. And I didn't realize that in my own life, in my own career, in my own world, that I had some serious false assumed truths around money that were holding me back and keeping me at a place where I wasn't leveling up my own life. So as much as I was coaching women and so many people on leveling up their life, this was holding me back. And it wasn't until Allyson interrupted me and pointed out that I had a heavy story around money that I started to realize this. So Allyson, what made you see that in me, and why? This is something that you've built your whole career and business around. This is so important. Why is this so relevant and important?
Yeah, so first I want to say hello to everybody that's on. I want to give a shout out. I see Wanda on, Jill on, AJ on, Danielle on, Daniela's on, Anna's on. I just want to say hi to so many people that are here. And of course, for those of you that are going to watch replays, Facebook is known for getting those replays up. So hashtag replay once you jump on, and make sure that you hang out with us for the entire, 20 or 25 minutes that we're going to be on. But I think that when we hear that someone has a money story, like when people hear that, they would go, oh, wow, Natalie Jill, was something wrong? Could you not take care of something? Or, what was happening? And the truth of the matter is, I was listening to the conversations that you were having. You're very modest, okay, about your finances. You know, you don't show your enormous home, you don't show your car collection. This is probably the most you'll ever talk about it.
I get nervous even my hands like start sweating because I'm like, I was raised like, don't talk about money, don't talk about those things.
Yeah. And I got to see your life and how much is available to you. And we just started having a conversation about one word: more. And the more we started having that conversation about what more was possible, you were saying to me, like, wow, I really hadn't even thought about that more. So, for everybody that's on, I want you to understand that we're not coming from a position of deficit. And I do realize that Americans, specifically, that is the number one stressor for us. And so, humanity in general, we are frustrated consistently about money. It breaks up marriages, it interrupts parenting, it stops single people from partnering. They're, upset about all kinds of things concerning money. And the conversation that we're having is, what if you left frustration or secrecy or some kind of shame dialogue that we've grown up in? And what if you just gave yourself permission to have more? What could be created for you? So that's how we started the dialogue, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Why do you think? I'm curious why you mentioned. I didn't know that. I didn't know that money was such a huge stressor for so many people, and it was such a heavy thing. Why is that we have such strong feelings or beliefs around that? What is that? Like, why is that such a?
Well, I think if we look at the generations, most of us were raised by the silent generation. Depending on our age, we were raised by silent generation or we were raised by baby boomers. And when you look at silent generation and baby boomers, they were not conversing freely about money unless they were a part of the top 3% of affluence. Then you probably grew up where you looked around and you could see tangibly that you had a lot of money. You had mansions and cars and servants. And so it was very available to you, money was. But for most people who grew up in kind of that middle of the road, and some people even in some form of not enoughness or what we would call poverty, then it was very shameful. So your parents would say something like, well, where do you think you're going to get that? Money doesn't grow on trees. So if you're on the thread right now, I want you to post, what did you hear your parents say about money? What was the number one thing that you can remember as a kid that you go, oh my God, my mom would always say, well, where are you going to get that from? Oh, hold on, let me go to the restroom and poop it out. And I would go, Mom. And she'd say, well, where do you think it's going to come from, Allyson? Like, my mother was working 3 jobs. Yeah. And so I grew up, I'm 42 now. So I grew up with a mother that had just come through civil rights. So when you think about that, she just didn't have the level of access to money. And a lot of people, not just Black people, but Asian and Latin and white, if you were middle class or lower, you did not have access to money all the time. So money was a quiet conversation. Today, we post everything about voting. We tell everybody our political opinion. But think about it, 20 years ago, nobody was saying that. It was, shh, don't you tell anybody your politics, and now we're very open. So times have changed. And I think we've got to change that stigma around money just as much as we have other areas.
Yeah, because it's become it feels so faux pas. Like you're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to ask people. And then people don't ask questions like when they feel stuck on how they can earn more or how they can create everything from nothing or how they can change their financial conversation, because it seems like a lot of people are not discussing that. They're hiding it. The only thing we see is like, you'll see on social media, some people like almost looks like they're bragging about it. So there's that extreme of bragging about it or just not talking about it.
Well, I think, let me address that for you, but I want to look at a couple of people that are on. So let's see. Somebody said, money doesn't grow on trees. Sue said that. Karen said, I grew up being taught to never discuss finances. Robert says people with money are not stressed. And Robert, I'm going to challenge you. That's not real. That is not a real conversation. I have a lot of money and I still have stress in my life. So that's not true. So we'll address that in just a second. Carol says she was taught to Always have a budget plan and a plan B, a nest egg for your money. Lakeisha says, how am I going to buy that? Am I going to buy that with my looks? So funny. So I think that the conversation, something that I want people to think about, and I want you to identify this if you're watching, whether you're on the replay or live, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being no freedom at all, and 5 being I'm so free, Allyson, there's no inhibition. Where are you on the scale of how tense you are when it comes to money? When you think about money, how freely are you logging into your bank account, and how daily are you doing money manifestations? Are you conversing openly with your spouse or life partner, your children? Do you keep money in your atmosphere, in your energy? So on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, Allyson, I'm so free about money. I should be on with you and Natalie Jill talking about this right now. And 1 being, it's such a tense stressor, I'm losing my mind. And then there's that middle ground, a 2, a 3, a 4. Post that number in the chat thread and tell us where you are in regard to your conversation and your personal dialogue with money. Let's see.
Also avoidance. I think sometimes, like, that was my thing, is I didn't even want to look at it. Like an avoidance thing, like I don't want to even deal or know.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I understand why money became very important to me. When I grew up, so just so everyone knows, I run a very successful sales agency with one of my business partners, and we grow businesses for thought leaders and influencers like Natalie Jill. And Natalie Jill is not only one of our extraordinary clients, but she's become one of my greatest friends. And so in that process, I had to work to get there. So when I dropped out of high school at 15 years old, I started wondering, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to create anything magical? And I don't know who can relate on this thread, but I realized very quickly that I was starting to live based on my circumstance. So I had lost any sense of vision and future and forward thinking. I lost total sense of that because my conversation was about every day. Well, I finally worked myself up to making $115,000 a year, which, by the way, the average entrepreneurial woman is making $63,000 a year. The average American household, and I realize this is international, but I'm going to talk North American numbers. The average North American household does not exceed $55,000 a year as a collective. So when I was making $115,000 a year, that was huge. Expense account, company car, all of those things. And then I heard this one word called entrepreneurship. And I jumped out. I jumped out into the boat. I left my job. I jumped into entrepreneurship. I did not do well in the first 8 months of entrepreneurship, but I took one class. And Natalie Jill, when I took that one class, they taught me a principle to focus and sell one thing. And this was long before the book One Thing ever came out. And I started selling that one thing for $7,800. And I got on stage, and the first time I got on stage, I opened the door for 10 people to work with me for $7,800 as a consultant. 8 people said yes. 48 hours later, $62,400 was deposited in my bank account. I was like, wait a minute, I've been making $115,000 for 12 months.
Yeah.
Now I stood on a stage for 90 minutes. And in 90 minutes, I generated $62,400. The next time I did it, 12 people said yes. It took me 18 months, and we had done $499,200 in that one product. Wow. And that's when I realized, Natalie Jill, what I had learned about money was expired. It was an antiquated conversation. And obviously there was a new school that I needed to understand. And that's when I started studying the principles of money. And my life has been forever changed since then.
So it's interesting because I think what happened to you in that story is what a lot of us go through. Like until we have evidence of something else, we don't change our belief.
That's the perfect word.
Yeah, so we go along operating one set of beliefs until something else teaches us, either validates what we've been believing or teaches us something new. And then just like you said, it has to happen a few times for you to even believe that it's real.
Yeah.
So how can you control that? How can you skip that step? How can you go ahead and start attracting or manifesting that without that evidence first?
Because so let me just say this, that the first thing that I did was, most of us have what's called dumb luck. Like we just stumble into something. But what we don't do is then study the dumb luck. So I remember the first time I made Brussels sprouts. And if you've ever made Brussels sprouts, depending on if you like them tender or if you like them crunchy, I remember the first time I used too much oil.
Okay.
And I studied the mess. Oh, it's too much oil. Brussels sprouts make their own water, this, that, and the other. So then the next time I used a very light amount of oil. I turned the heat up, but now I had fried Brussels sprouts. So then I studied the mess again. And so by the third time, I realized this is what I want to do. I want to have a balance of a little grapeseed oil, a little low sodium organic chicken broth, and then I put my Brussels sprouts in like I got the formula. Most of us won't study our mess. We won't study what didn't work. We won't peel it apart. And then we won't study how we win. And we won't make it a consistent recipe. So how do we change that is, if you don't have evidence yet for what you want, look at the evidence of what you don't want. So if what doesn't work is not looking at your bank account, what doesn't work is going to a job every day that you hate, what doesn't work is being an entrepreneur that's failing and frustrating, what doesn't work is not having conversations, with your partner, what doesn't work is if avoidance isn't working, if anger or shame or money guilt isn't working, peel that apart and look at what you're putting in your recipe. Oh, it's too much avoidance. Oh, it's too much anger. Oh, it's too much of my dad's opinion in my current life. I'm a grown ass woman. Why am I going to be taking what my dad said and using it today? Like, I've got to identify that. So I had to understand that as much as I loved my mother, as much as I loved my grandparents and everyone else, none of them had been a Black woman in 2019, or at that time, 2009, with the freedoms, the liberties, the privilege, the education, the access, the networking that I had. So here's what you can do to change your life. Study what doesn't work. Study what does work. Do more of what does work. Do less of what doesn't. It's really pretty fundamental.
It sounds so basic, but why do people get so stuck in not taking those actions? Because that does sound so basic.
Yeah, it's the same reason why people won't lose weight. I used to be, 355 pounds. And why was all of that weight physically on my body? I wouldn't eat the right foods and I wouldn't move. Fundamentally, those are the things that I needed to do. Move my body more, and eat less of what doesn't serve me and eat more of what does. That is the routine of everybody. Your 7-day jump start, you're eating an unprocessed diet. Eat more of what serves you, move your body along with it, drink plenty of water, and the end results. So
as you're saying it, I'm like, light bulbs are going off. It's so interesting how it could be so simple, but we tend to complicate so much. Like, we want to live in all the reasons why it won't work instead of just going to the basics. So like when you just gave me the example of fat loss, yes, like to me, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. It's that. But then I get stuck on the money thing, but then I witness you walking through it so simply.
Yes.
So how does somebody take action in that? Like if they're real, like I'm listening going, okay, I still have this problem. I still have this false assumed truth there. I'm still living in the beliefs that I was raised in, that you have nice things, people want to take it, or money is evil, or like all these things that come up for me that I was
going to tell you a big one. I better keep my money a secret because everybody's going to want it. My long lost cousin from somewhere is going to show up at my door like, I'm your cousin. Black people, we got cousins everywhere. But just take care of me. And so we want to be secretive about it. I remember when I went from driving my average everyday Chevy to buying a luxury car. And people would get in my car and I would almost let them sweat before I would tell them I had air conditioned seats, because I was like, I don't want them, but they're in a vehicle that's premium and pearly and beautiful and luxury and leather, and you can smell it, and it's heavy, and it's obvious the car cost me some money. You walk into my home, it's obvious my home cost me some money, but we want to hide it. And so here's what I want people to understand. If you have money shame when money is not there, you will have money shame when you bring it in.
Interesting.
Yeah, you will.
Interesting. So, okay, I have like a million questions, but I want to talk about, because I know you've got like solutions on this, and I've been learning so much from you, and you created Think Your Way Rich. So can you talk to us more about that? And because why you created that and why this works for people?
Well, first of all, I consulted with so many marketers about that title, Think Your Way Rich. And you and I were on the phone, and I was saying, Natalie, Jill, I really want to support women. And I really want to support women around this conversation. I'm getting teary-eyed because I said, I really want to support women specifically because in the last 20 years, CNBC reports we have made no progress to be in the top 1% of society unless we are married to a man. Now, let me just tell you something. I love me a tall, chocolate, dark-skinned, beautiful man. Let him have an accent. Let him walk with a little bit of swag. Like, I love a man. But in this modern age where, number one, every woman is not married to a man. Number two, every woman is not seeking marriage or partnership. Why in 20 years have we made no progress? And why in 2019 is CNBC reporting this is the only way we can advance to the top 1%? Why is the New York Post reporting in 2019, this year, that women aren't even interested in wealth? Like, what world are we in? I think it's deeply unfair and it's concerning. So I was on the phone with you and you said, Allyson, I really think that you help people really think about being rich. And we just started playing with it and you came out with that title and I loved it. But every marketer that I took it to said, don't name it that, because people are afraid of the word rich. And so I want to ask your audience in the thread right now, even if you're on the replay, when you hear the word rich, what is your instant association with that word? I mean, just put it in the thread right now. What's your one word association? I'm sure we're going to see greed. I'm sure we're going to see distant from family and friends. I'm sure we're going to see mean and just salacious things that come with that word. But the truth of the matter is we get to identify what rich is for us, what influence is for us, what affluence is for us. Come on, you guys, post in the thread. I know we got a little delay, but it ain't that long. Oh, look, somebody said people think rich is fake. See, people think that rich is fake. And so I realized that as I started ascending in wealth, and to be in the top 1% of earners in North America, you have to have a take home of $845,000 or more. So when I started standing on stages and saying, I'm in the top 1%, people were looking at me like, I don't even know what the top 1% is. But I'm telling you right now, you don't see a lot of our gender. You don't see diversity and scale of color. You don't see any of that. So I want to bring that invitation of disruption and financial freedom. I want you to think that if right now, I dropped $250,000 in your account, if you're watching this broadcast, and I said to you, what good would you do for the world? If I just dropped 250,000 and I said, what good would you do for the world? What would you take that $250,000 and do? And then if I dropped another 250,000 and said, what good would you do for your family or your home environment? What would you do? Put that in the thread right now.
Wow. So many eye-opening things coming up for me. And then as I'm reading this thread, it's funny, like, hi, Danny. Danny wrote stuck up, unobtainable. All of that, that's exactly what I struggled with, like hearing all those things and thinking that. Christine said wasp. Yeah.
And I want you guys to really post that. What would you do for the world and what would you do for your life? Because when money gets in the hands of women that are purposeful and intentional and powerful and generous and loving and kind and educated and committed, and you've been in communities and you see what's necessary, we will transform the world. So as long as we stay on the outer aspect of richness, we are always reliant on someone to have the vision for us, and then we've got to volunteer in their vision, but we can't be the leader of the vision.
Because I would guess that most people, when they hear that, we're going to drop $250,000 over in your account, like they go to instant, like that wouldn't last, or that's not real, like more of a hurting thing. Like I need to save that, I need to hold that, or it doesn't go to a vision of let me help others, I would guess.
Yeah, that's why I created Think Your Way Rich, which is a 5-week journey. We call it a pop-up membership. So for 5 weeks, you're a member with me, and I'm walking you through behavioral change. So I didn't write a course. I didn't create a program. I created an experience for women to walk through together as a collective with other women across the globe. We have over 27 countries registered to go through this movement with us. And so that's why I created it, because the first week we go over thinking beyond just enough. I mean, some single moms listening right now may go, Allyson, I can't think about being rich because all I got to think about is how do I keep a roof over our heads? How do I put food on the table? So they're stuck in just enough. In the third week, we go over thinking beyond borrowed beliefs. What beliefs did you get culturally that women should have? I have Asian people tell me all the time, I grew up in a home, or Latin people, or African, Haitian. We grew up in homes where, the entire home was 1,200 square feet. There was one room or two rooms. And, I was in bed with my cousins and this, that, and the other. So as people start ascending in success, they become what I call gardeners versus farmers. And a gardener only takes care of their space, but a farmer is empowered to transform the world. They can feed generations. And that's what I really want to help people do, is expand from being a gardener that only takes care of their space and really shift into, now I get to have bigger meaning in the world.
So how will you help people in this? Because I get like you're taking them through a process 6 weeks, but how do you like personally help them in that?
Yeah. So we built it on behavioral change. By the way, anybody that wants to study behavioral change and learn something super simple, because I know it can sound scientific and maybe a bit chunky, but all you got to do, read the book Atomic Habits. That's a good place to start. Read the book Atomic Habits. If you don't enjoy reading, if you're more auditory, download the audiobook. If you are, wanting to look at something super quick, just look up Atomic Habits on YouTube and look at an interview. But one of the things that he talks about is making one incremental shift. And you talk about this, Natalie, Jill, in your make one decision. So make one decision. So you decide and you declare. So behavioral changes, make a new decision. Now audibly articulate that decision to others for accountability, and now move forward in the vision of that decision becoming a consistent part of your day-to-day. So every single week we walk through discussion groups and different things that help you decide and declare and reclaim that vision of what it looks like for you to be financially abundant so that you can be financially free. But first, you've got to change what you think about. So you shift what you think about, then you shift what you bring about, and then you shift what you live about. So you think it, then you bring it, then you live it.
I love it. Think it, bring it, live it. How do people take action on this? I want to.
Yeah, so for people that want to step in, so I've been traveling around the US, so we are literally almost at capacity. I promise, guys, this is not fake scarcity. And I told you this before we got on. I said we only have a few spots that are available. So it's by application only. Okay. So where you go is www. And if somebody can write this in the thread, but let me give a stipulation. If you invert letters, don't be my volunteer. And if your fingers are chunky, don't be my volunteer because you will not type it properly. So let me just say that. So it's www.thinkourwayrich.com. So 4 words, think our way rich. Yeah, it's Think Our, because it's really about a movement of women that are making a decision that we want to think our way rich. I've made it so super affordable to meet people where they are. And when you go to that URL, you simply fill out an application where I ask you, why should you be a part of this movement? What is it that you want to change around your money mindset? How do you want to expand? What good would you do for the world, and what good would you do for your life? And then when you submit that, you can tune in with me tomorrow and I'll go through all the details of the time, the 5-week journey, everything. But you've got to submit first, and it's going to ask you where you heard about us. So make sure you put Natalie Jill in there so that I know you watch this broadcast, whether live or on the replay, that you're serious about this conversation, because you've been getting hit up in your DMs about it, which is why we brought it to the table. But it's www.thinkourwayrich.com.
Yeah, and a big reason I wanted to do this, by the way, because I know people listening are like, why is she talking about this topic? This is the number one thing I hear from women. Other than my nutrition, fat loss questions, it's always something about money. Something, and it doesn't matter what level somebody is in
the
that.
Number one stressor for women globally. Number one globally. So it's the number one for North Americans, but for women, it's global. It causes autoimmune deficiencies. It causes alopecia. Women are going bald over money breakdowns. I mean, seriously.
And that's the biggest reason for divorce and relationship breakdowns.
Number one. And so for anyone that says to me, Allyson, I don't need to think my way rich. Well, how's it working for you to think your way the same?
That's what Allyson said to me.
I mean,
that's what you said to me.
That would be like me. Natalie Jill, you're very petite and I love your little body, but I love being a curvy, fine, thick Black woman. If you go on my Instagram at I am Allyson Byrd, you'll see my entire body. And that would be like me at 355 pounds saying, Natalie Jill, I don't want to lose weight because I don't want to be your size. Well, okay, well, what about you don't want to be diabetic? What about you don't want to have fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis and you don't want to kill yourself? And so releasing, over 100 pounds over the last few years has been a big deal for me. And it took me thinking my way and seeing. And as even over the last few months, I got stuck. I said, Natalie Jill, I can't seem to drop weight. I've hit a stale point. And you said, what are you thinking about? Yeah. And I said, all I'm thinking about is gaining this weight back. And I'm thinking about how big I'm going to stay, or I'm thinking about, you said, you need to see the vision. And so that's what I'm saying to people, that if you don't like where your money is today, your mind must get there first, and then your reality will follow. Okay. And so wherever your mind is, your reality will show up.
And what's interesting is I think a lot of people listening don't even realize they have a poor money mindset. Like, I had no idea that was in my gap until Allyson said to me, you have heavy stories around money. I'm like, what do you mean? I never talk about money. And she's like, no, you have she like sensed it on me, and she was right, but I wasn't even aware of it.
Yeah, and I keep money everywhere. If you came in my home right now, you could open where my cutlery is. You're probably going to find a couple of $20 bills. If you go in my car, you're probably going to find $500, $700. I'm
gonna start cleaning out your car.
You really are, because I keep money. If I go in my jewelry drawer right now, I'm going to find a couple of $100. I'm going to find 20s in my makeup bag. And the reason is I want to be reminded that money isn't earned, money is created, and money is abundant. And that we don't create abundance. What we create is limitations to abundance. Okay. And if we argue for our limitations, our life will show us what's winning. whether abundance is winning or limitation is winning. So I have money everywhere. And I also have money everywhere so that I can be a blessing. Because if a panhandler stops me, or a Girl Scout cookie sales girl says, hey, can you buy this? I don't have to say, well, now they have Square apps, but I don't have to say, oh, I can't help you in need, or, oh, I can't make an investment at the lemonade stand at the corner because I don't have money. How many times a day, a week, a month are you saying I can't do something because of money? It's time to cancel that. And if that's really up for you, I want you to hashtag cancel in the thread right now. Just call an into it right now and hashtag cancel, because you get to claim that and you get to button that up right now on this stream.
Alice, what would you say? Because I know some people would say, I would be more generous if. Like, so they do it the other way around. And like, I witness you, and you've told me that you were like that before you had money too. Like, you are very generous with money constantly. But I do see that it's a very heavy story with people, that they will be generous when.
Yeah. So when I used to live in a 500 square foot apartment, actually it wasn't even 500 square feet. I think it was like 480 square feet. And my office, I'd started a life coaching practice, and my office was at the front of that 480 square foot apartment. And I would tell my clients, park at the dumpster and come up to the second floor. That was like my practice. And by the way, I built my practice off of that old show, Boston Legal. I tried to make it look like Boston Legal in 480 square feet. But anyway, I digress. But I remember not having money at that time. This was probably 12 years ago. And I didn't have money for Wi-Fi. And I thought, I'm not going to have money for Wi-Fi. And I was newly learning principles of generosity and giving. And it was the prelude to this space. And I said, what can I do that's ethical? And like, I was just looking at all the different ways. And I went to my neighbor, and this brings tears to my eyes, because I knocked on his door and I said, I can't afford Wi-Fi for at least the next 4 months. Can I borrow yours?
Wow.
And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, like most people would just try to find Wi-Fi they steal, or, And I was not going to be, I was working all hours of the night at that time. So somebody would say, why didn't you go to the coffee shop? Because I wasn't going to get up in my jammies and go to the Denny's and, and order a coffee and just sit there and suck Wi-Fi. And I said, is there anything I can give you? And he said, no, you're fine. But I noticed he was a single dad, and he would always, don't get mad at what he ate, but he would always bring his kids on the weekends with McDonald's. And when I worked my temp job, I went and I would go get him a gift card, and I would slide it under his mat with a little note, and it would be a gift card from McDonald's. And I would just say, thank you for the Wi-Fi. And I believe today, sometimes when I get a financial exciting thing drop in my lap, I just believe it's a ripple from the Wi-Fi. I just believe it's a ripple from that version of myself. Let me just say this. Who you are today sets up what you will live tomorrow. So that generosity that I was in, my state, you teach this, Natalie Jill, what is your state? What is your thinking? If you identify what your thinking is, then you change your plate. And then from there, you change your weight. So it's the same way with finances. What state are you in? And I was in a state of generosity before I even had it to give. And I just magnetized more.
Let me tell you about Allyson really quick, y'all. She's moving right now. And like the guys that pick up her trash, the trash men came by to say bye to her, because she like gives them cold waters on hot summer days. She's always thinking, she stayed with me before, and I watch what she does. She talks to everybody. She's so generous with anybody that asks. Like, somebody asks her for $1, she gives it to them. She'll go to the ATM and get it if she doesn't have it on her. Like, that's how she lives. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, I'm so honored by, and I want somebody to think about this, somebody that's on who maybe you can't say yes to Think Your Way Rich with me, and maybe you can't go on that journey. Think about generosity of spirit. My pest control team just came by and said goodbye. And, generosity of spirit. How generous are you in just your way of being all the time? And, because you just attract that and you will attract more good. And you have to remember, I want to ask you this, as a matter of fact, before I give the point, for those of you on the thread, who's watching you? Who's paying attention to the money story that you live? And don't just put my daughter, my son, my mom, my dad, put their name. Because the moment that you start saying, Penelope is watching me, and what I do, Penelope will, which is Natalie Jill's daughter, right? What I do, Penelope will take into her future. You will start going, oh, wait a minute. Let me shift. Let me open that up. And, my nephews, they watch me and I see them work their summer jobs and I see them take a tithe or a percentage of that and find something that they can donate into. Who's watching you? So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, my daughter Summer, Harley is watching me. Yeah, I love it. And a lot of people canceling that old thought. This is so good.
And I love what Miss said. She says, I so want to be a blessing. And you get to be that blessing. You get to be that blessing right now. My challenge for you would be walk into a Subway or walk into a Panera Bread, walk into your local bakery and just take somebody's coffee and say, that's on me. Just start with something like that. And you'll find that that is how you start thinking your way rich, is first thinking your way the most generous version of yourself you can possibly be.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm applying for your this program. I want in. I need to learn this and I need to be immersed in it for 6 weeks. So how do people take action again if they want to do this?
Yeah, so let me just say this, because I love, one of my favorites is we do this exercise where, and Think Your Way Rich, we do this exercise where I have you identify, what are you tolerating in replace of being rich? So before that, you identify what rich is for you. So let me just ask you, Natalie Jill, if you were to say the top 5 things that would mean rich for you, what would those top 5 things be for you?
Oh gosh. Safe, secure, comfortable, freely generous, I guess, without any thought of not having. So freely generous.
Luxury.
Yeah, I'll put that with, luxury. So yes, but for me, what comes up heavier is the safety and security. Like, I like the feeling of that.
Yes. So I want you to think about, what do you tolerate in place of that? So one of the exercises is, once you define rich, then I challenge you to stretch rich. So I would let you start at safe and secure, but then I would take you to the extremes. The luxury. Yeah, a Bentley, right? You've been looking at a Bentley coupe.
With a chauffeur.
You're probably going to kill me for saying this. You've been looking at a Bentley coupe. Going to swim in the waters of Asia, like going to Phuket and, enjoying that, right? And lounging
in my private jet.
Your private jet flies you there, like all
my closest friends.
So one of the things that I say is, okay, once you identify what rich is for you, which is safe and secure and give without any inhibitions around that giving, then we stretch that. So we 10x that. So then we take it to an area of luxury and donations and nonprofits, or creating a PR campaign that you get to have, like all those different things. So we 10x it. And then after that, we go through, well, what are you tolerating when you don't have it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You guys do you guys have light bulbs? Because I'm having serious light bulbs right now. Like, I don't think I've ever stretched myself that way. And that's explaining a lot in my life, because I stay comfortable. Like, yeah. Okay, I feel safe, so there we go.
And there's so much
to have a private jet.
Well, and not only that, I think that I've experienced you have such a heart of love. And, one of my favorite things is waking up in your home and having my scrambled egg, my nitrate free sausage, my grapefruit, my hot coffee with, all the collagen grit that you make me drink. I'm like, and, you and I'm like, but wait, I'm Black. Do I need all that collagen? But anyway, I love the way you love. And I want you to think, Natalie Jill, do you tolerate that there are some causes that you are personally attached to that you would be more proactive in if you could be a true philanthropist, an investor? I want you to think about Penelope and her visions of grandeur of being a phenomenal actress, and what private acting coach or what, overseas school would you put her in? Who would you bring from LA to work with her directly? Or, what would that be like when you start thinking, and it's not, I'm missing it and I feel bad. It's just a conversation of possibility, which helps you identify your upper limits. And so you start saying, wow, I can't even magnetically draw it to me. I can't even bring it to me because I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, those real estate shows, Allyson, like you watch about like the big, huge homes and whatever. Yeah. Like my husband loves to watch his shows, and I wasn't like, I would get annoyed. And he's like, why don't you like watching them? I'm like, because I would never have a house that's $20 million. That I literally was saying that. Like, I didn't like those shows because I'm like, that's just not even. But it's interesting you're saying that, because on fat loss, I'll challenge people to go there with their vision. Like, why can't you be the size 8 that you want to be? Why can't you be all that? So it's interesting how we all have these areas that we do that in. And I was definitely doing that with money.
And we all have these areas, like you have an area, and I want to also acknowledge that this is my area. This is my genre. It is to get you to the money, and it is to get you to the consciousness around money. It is to expand women to do more and to be better and eliminate their excuses around money. It is for women to think our way unapologetically rich and secure the most obnoxious, insane bag possible so that we can touch, move, and inspire ourselves. When we do that, we touch, move, and inspire our world. When we do that, we touch, move, and inspire the world. So if you've ever looked at, well, I want to be a bigger influence, I want to be an author, I'd love to be visible here. Don't think that, sometimes we just leave riches to people that are already rich. We go, well, Oprah's already rich, she should be the philanthropist for everybody. Well, Kylie Jenner's rich, and all the Jenners and Kardashians are just rich, and I don't need all the bags and the furs and all the things that they have. But do you see what they do in third world countries? I mean, today we build schools in Africa. Today we put shoes on the feet of kids in Cambodia. Today we do partnerships that take into third world countries, into inner city communities here in the States. In San Antonio, Texas, where I live, I could list so many things that we do to make sure that children are provided for, that sex trafficking is stopped, that cancer research is done. And so what good would you do for yourself? What good would you do within your world? And what good would that ripple into the world? And so if you would, like to be a part of thinkourwayrich.com, go there and you submit an application. And the application is not like, well, am I rich? Can I get in? And the application is not, am I broke? Is that the way that I get in? No, we want to hear your heart, right? We want to hear your heart. And we have 270 women that have already said yes. We have 30 more slots because I'm taking 300 women through. And we start on Saturday morning. So Saturday morning we start. Tomorrow night I go through all the details. So you may go, well, I want to buy it right now. You can't. You've got to submit the application, attend with me tomorrow. I go through all the details. And if you're watching this on the day we're recording it, so I want to be careful with tomorrow.
So how they take action is go to thinkourwayrich.com and they fill out the application. That's the only step they can do first.
They fill out the application and then they have to confirm which one they're attending with me tomorrow. Okay. There are 2 sessions so that we can catch all the time zones.
Okay, got it. This is super eye-opening for me. I mean, did you guys learn a lot on this? I learned a lot on this. Every time I talk to Allyson, I learn something, but this is really has me shifting how I'm going to start noticing everything I think around this, because I have not been thinking my way rich. That is for sure. I've been thinking my way not rich. So I need to.
Yeah. And I think we've got to stop saying that rich is a dirty word. We've got to stop looking for, well, I just want my equal pay, or I want to close the pay gap. F that. No. And if I were on my own broadcast, I would be dropping all F bombs. But because I'm on Natalie Jills, I'm going to just say it, F. But no, like it's been too long. And when I see New York Post or CNBC report like they're reporting, I'm saying time is up. And if you believe that, post that in the thread right now. Hashtag time is up, for that to be the reality for us as women. So I'm grateful, Natalie Jill, that you invited me on to be with your community. I feel so loved and so seen. And I'm really grateful that you see my vision, because I really honestly feel like a pioneer. And someone just said to Lizzo, Lizzo, who sings that song, I do my hair toss, check.
Yeah.
Baby, how you feeling, right? Well, I sound so much like her. Facebook may shut us down like the real song is playing.
That's another live on Think Your Way Rich and Singing Famous.
Oh, yeah, right? And so somebody said to her, Trevor Noah asked her, actually, what do you think about the fact that people are saying you're like this reflection of body positivity? And she said, my mere existence in the market is a form of activism. Oh. Because I'm present. And me being a female and a female of color and being in the top 1% of our society is a mere reflection of activism and pioneering. And I get that not everybody is going to think this is important at first. I get that I'm Noah building an ark when there's never been rain. If anybody's ever read that Christian Bible story, God, if you believe in God, God tells Noah, build an ark. And he says, because it's going to rain. And people say, well, what is rain? Because there had only been mist in the world up to that point. And he says, no, the mist is going to be heavier and we're going to drown. People are going, what? Heavier mist and rain, and we don't know what that is. And there's no way it's going to happen. And I feel like I'm that person today saying, women, we get to pick up the pen and we get to write our destiny. And we get to say what we desire around our finances, our personal freedom, our own sense of ambition. We get to have influence, we get to create impact, and we get to command our income as we desire it. So I'm really honored that you brought me onto your platform.
Yes, I love having you on. I learned so much.
Yay!
Are you all gonna go and apply? Apply. I'm applying.
Well, let me see. Let's see who's in, who's going to go and apply, who's going. If you're going to go, I want you to post in the thread right now. Yeah, I'm in, I'm going in, I'm going to go do it. Let's just see. And who's going to take action. So if you're going to take action, I want you to put a Y in the thread. Why don't you do that? Put a Y for yes. And just let us know. And by the way, you guys know, of course, I have a huge social media team. So they're going to come back to the Whys and they're going to see if you really submit it and stalk you with a tag like, hey, they're going to be like, hey, Lakeisha, hey, Carol, hey, Shannon. And I do want to let you guys know that there is a cost to participate, but it's super affordable. And it's super affordable by everyone's standards, not just by mine. And I want you to understand that I want to meet you where you are because I so deeply love women. And I'm so deeply passionate that this is a movement, that this message is a movement through women and that we transcend generations as a result of this. So this is a big deal.
Yeah. Amazing, Allyson. Thank you. And thanks to everyone for joining in. One more time, the link, www.thinkourwayrich.com.
Yes, if 5 people could post that in the thread, unless you invert letters and unless your fingers are chunky. So it's 4 words. So you put the www.thinkourwayrich.com. And if 5 people could put it in the thread, then that means people can see the details and put that in. And I want you to put that in if that's something that you can make an investment in. Someone's making a comment and saying that, you know, they're right now in a journey where they're coming through domestic violence. It is Domestic Violence Month. And so our thoughts and our prayers and our love are with you. But if this is not a yes for you today, don't feel any pressure to take action there. This is for the people that get to say yes. And for someone who's watching that you're not in that state, rewatch this, because that's what this kind of content is for. Follow me on Instagram at I am Allyson Byrd. Look at my stories today. I have free content for you every single day. Natalie Jill is always inspiring and giving information for you to get to your next step. So take advantage of our no cost content platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And then when you are able to step into making an investment for yourself and for your life, then make that decision.
Yes. Thanks, Allyson. I'm sure I'm going to bring you back on more because I just can't get enough of you. And I share what I learned.
I love you guys so much. Hey, Flops. Hey, Flops. What's he eating over there? What's he doing? Oh, there he is. Oh, wait, let me take a picture. Hold on. Let me take a picture.
Here, Flops, look at Allyson. Look at Allyson. Say hi.
Hey, ready? Okay, smiling, Jay.
He's going to turn away. Flops.
I got it. It's super cute. It's perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I love you, NJ. Thank you for hosting. Bye, everybody. Oh, you know what? Wait, as we're saying bye, if you could post in the chat thread the one word that stood out for you, like if you said this was empowering, inspiring, loving, awakening, whatever it is, that one word that you would use to describe today's broadcast, post that in the thread even after we're off, and then make sure you share it. Remember that we don't grow alone. So share it with someone that you love and that you admire and respect so that they can grow on this journey with you as well.
Thanks, Allyson.
Bye. Yay. Let's see. Let me get us off of here.